Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And let's get to the list. The Awakening is a 2011 British supernatural horror movie. Directed by Nick Murphy, it stars Rebecca Hall, Dominic West, and Imelda Staunton. In 1921 England, a hoax exposer visits a boarding school to explain the sightings of a child ghost.
Miss Cathcart, I'm a history master at a boys' prep school. I was sent to request your help. You are a ghost hunter as well as an author.
You can't hunt what doesn't exist.
We think we have one that does.
This is such an underrated movie. It's one of the earlier films that I saw Rebecca Hall in, and from the jump, she's already incredible in this. But it's just moody and atmospheric. It has a really interesting story that takes multiple different twists and turns, so it keeps you guessing throughout. And it's well acted by the entire cast, including the kids. It just has this real haunting, classical feel about it. It is a little bit of a slow burn, but I wouldn't consider it a slow film. It just takes its time kind of introducing these characters and setting up this situation. But if you're a fan of moody, atmospheric, haunting ghost stories, this is one you definitely need to see. A Sound of Thunder is a 2005 sci-fi thriller. Directed by Peter Hyams, it stars Edward Burns, Catherine McCormick, and Ben Kingsley. A single mistake in the past by a time travel company in the future has devastating and unforeseen consequences.
The changes in evolution that you affected come in ripples like dropping a stone into a pond. We'll start with climate, then vegetation, the early manifestations of life.
I think this is the definition of hidden gem. Yeah, it's not exactly horror. This is definitely much more sci-fi, but it has a lot of thriller elements to it. It's very exciting and well done, but it's so much fun. When I saw that it was finally streaming somewhere, I had to mention it. Because this is one of those movies that I feel like the rest of the world has just never seen. And it's so weird to me because for a sci-fi thriller, it's one of the more fun ones. It's adventurous and really intriguing because the whole premise, I love time travel stuff, and this is one of the better ones, especially from back in this era, that I've seen. Also, what I think is fun about it is it's kind of somewhat based in real science. They don't try to make up all this crazy pseudoscience. A lot of this is based on things that are at least somewhat feasible. But I don't want to ruin any surprises, but there's a lot of fun little things that happen throughout this. But if you're looking for a fun, adventurous ride, this is a great pick. Frankenstein's Army is a 2013 found footage horror movie. Directed by Richard Raforst, it stars Carell Roden, Joshua Sass, and Luke Newberry. In the dying days of World War II, a battalion of Russian soldiers is lured into a secret lab of a deranged scientist and forced to face off against an army of horrific flesh and metal war machines.
Sewing dead people together, giving them knives for hands. It's insane.
I've had a few of you guys reach out and mention this movie over the years whenever I talk about found footage. And the name of it really does it a disservice because really the name is what made me just never check it out. But even once I started the movie, it just doesn't seem like it's gonna be anything worth seeing. But luckily I was patient with it, and right about 20 minutes or so in, things started to happen and I started to go, okay, this is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna see where this goes. And it just gets better and better and better. And surprisingly, it actually goes for it. It gets gruesome, gory, uncomfortable, and weird. But it's also imaginative and creative. It's definitely not a movie to take serious though, but it's not a comedy. It's not meant to be funny. or campy. It takes it incredibly serious. But a lot of the visuals and special effects and things that happen are definitely worth seeing. No matter what, if you're a fan of found footage, it's one you definitely need to see. But either way, I think it's a lot of fun and definitely worth checking out. The Canal is a 2014 Irish horror movie, written and directed by Ivan Kavanagh. It stars Rupert Evans, Hannah Hoekstra, and Steve Oram. A film archivist finds his sanity crumbling after he is given an old 16mm film reel with footage of a horrific murder that occurred in the early 1900s.
Hey, that's my road.
I know this sounds crazy, but this is the same man I saw on the night Alice was murdered. I knew what I seen was real.
This is a cool mind-bender thriller that definitely keeps you guessing throughout. And it gets pretty creepy and twisted as it goes along. It's also well performed and well shot. It is a small movie, so it's not necessarily anything that's gonna blow your mind, but if you enjoy psychological thrillers, this is one that's definitely worth checking out.
Do you want to see my face?
Haunt is a 2019 slasher horror movie, written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. It stars Katie Stevens, Will Brittain, and Laura McLean. On Halloween, a group of friends encounter an extreme haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears.
Yes, we're doing it.
It's the end. Say goodbye.
Is this supposed to be scary?
Over the last few weeks, since this was added onto Tubi, I've had a number of you guys reach out and be like, hey, have you ever talked about Haunt? Or have you ever seen Haunt? Things like that. Which was kind of surprising to me because I just kind of figured everybody had seen this movie at this point. Because if you're a fan of haunted house, Halloween kind of movies, it doesn't get a lot better than this. And I know Halloween is still a little bit off, but if you're like me, you're starting to think about it. As we get closer and closer to August, that means we're basically a month out from the Halloween season. Because for me, Halloween is September and October. Those 2 months, I start celebrating on the channel and in real life in any way I can, because I just love Halloween that much. But it's also fun to just live in that Halloween world from time to time. So if you can watch a movie like this or Hellfest, something that is just soaked in the Halloween vibe, it just kind of, for at least a couple hours, puts you into that euphoric, happy Halloween mood. But this is also just a damn good slasher. It's creepy, it's disturbing, it gets gruesome and bloody, it's demented and twisted, and really just a great time. So if you're one of those out there that have yet to see this, or if it's been a while, this is one that I highly recommend. Legion is a 2010 action horror movie, co-written and directed by Scott Stewart. It stars Paul Bettany, Andrea Palicki, and Dennis Quaid. When a group of strangers at a roadside diner come under attack by demonic forces, their only chance for survival lies with an archangel named Michael.
The last time God lost faith in man, he sent a flood. This time, he sent angels.
Okay, so I'm not saying this is a gold standard movie. So anybody out there that's like, what, that movie's garbage, blah, blah. This is simply a fun popcorn kind of watch. I actually just rewatched this, so it's not even like revisionist history as far as me remembering it better than it actually is. I just rewatched it. It has flaws. There's definitely some CGI stuff that doesn't work, special effects work in general, just some of it's not the greatest. Some of the acting is pretty hokey, but that's not the point of a movie like this. This movie is really just about having fun, and it really is a great popcorn watch. It gets bloody, it gets gross, it's full of action and violence, and I think it's a really great get comfortable on the couch with some popcorn, turn your brain off a little bit kind of movie. So if you're looking to just relax and have fun, I think this is a really great pick. Apollo 18 is a 2011 found footage sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Gonzalo Lopez Gallego, it stars Warren Christie, Ryan Robbins, and Lloyd Owen. Decades-old found footage from NASA's abandoned Apollo 18 mission shows 3 astronauts sent on a secret mission and reveals the reasons the US has never returned to the moon.
Waiting a long time for this.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Only 12 guys have seen this view.
This is another fun one, another one that you just can't take too serious. If you're a fan of found footage especially, this is a good time. But I just love the concept and idea of this, especially the whole dark side of the moon angle, because we really don't have footage from the dark side of the moon. Of course, it's dark, right? And so it's just fun to let your imagination run. And this just kind of takes you down that rabbit hole and has a good time with it. But it's also a creepy movie and well put together. They do a great job of making it feel and look really authentic. So I think this is a really cool little movie that's definitely worth adding to your list. The Burrowers is a 2008 Western horror movie, written and directed by J.T. Petty. It stars David Buse, William Mapother, and Clancy Brown. In the Wild West, a rescue party sets out to find a family of settlers that has vanished from their home under mysterious circumstances.
Who takes men and horses and leaves the valuables to rot?
Woke up. He says another tribe, miners.
He didn't say miners. He used the word for when animals dig, burrow made.
This really has become one of my favorite Western horror movies. I'm a sucker for creature features, and especially ones that do some unique things with that. And on the surface, it looks like it could just be kind of a ripoff of Tremors, but it's definitely not. It takes this whole thing a lot more serious, and the creatures involved, even though yes, they're kind of in the dirt and in the ground, what they do and how it deals with all that and the aftermath and what you see, it gets much more gross and uncomfortable and very creepy. But it's also really well acted with a very solid cast. It also has a really great look about it. The way it's shot, the cinematography and design of all of that just has this dusty old west that just takes you back to some of the classic westerns. That also just makes it a really good time. So if you're like me and you enjoy Western horror movies as well as creature features, this is one you definitely need to see.
Very good. It's very, very good. You know, this is always...
Beyond the Black Rainbow is a 2010 Canadian sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by Panos Cosmatos in his feature film debut. It stars Michael Rogers and Eva Allen. Despite being under heavy sedation, a young woman tries to make her way out of the Arborea Institute, a secluded and quasi-futuristic commune.
I don't know who you are or what you are.
Okay, I'm gonna warn you up front. This is definitely not a movie for everyone. It is experimental. It's much more about the visuals and the mood and the feel of it than it is story. There isn't much of a story really narrative in it. In a lot of ways, this feels like an acid trip of some kind. It's made by Panos Cosmatos, who did Mandy. And Mandy is much more of a story, but it has a similar acid trip kind of look and visual language about it that this does. So if you like really artsy, visually stimulating kind of movies, then this is one you might dig. But it is very, very slow. It takes its time. The whole thing feels like you're in a daydream and you're not sure what's going on, and the visuals are constantly kind of moving around you and all that. But I think it's really creative with some visuals that'll definitely stick with you. So if you can be patient and just enjoy the art design and the look and style and feel of this, then I think it's worth your time. But if you need action and excitement and a lot of story and all of that, this is definitely not the movie for you. Maybe go and smoke up a little bit before you check it out. That might put you in the right headspace. But I think it's a creative, very interesting movie that's trying to push the genre forward. And I'm always about filmmakers that do things like that.
Your future is about to get rocked.
The Special is a 2020 horror movie. Directed by B. Harris Smith, it stars Davey Rafferty, Dave Sheridan, and Sarah French. Suspecting his wife of infidelity, Jerry follows his friend down a dark rabbit hole into a horror landscape of addiction.
We're here for the Special. Trust me, it is not what you think.
This really caught me off guard because once it kind of gets going and you think you know what is going on in this, then it's like a whole new layer opens up and the tone and everything shifts. It's also kind of hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil it. There is one major thing that happens in this that if you know, it kind of ruins it a little bit. It ruins the surprise a little bit. And it's very fun to find out when it happens. But I promise you, you will not see the directions and choices coming for this movie. It is a small indie movie, so it isn't necessarily a huge concept. In a lot of ways, it kind of almost feels like a Tales from the Crypt episode, but it goes pretty hard at times, especially with its concepts and ideas. But at its core, it's just a good time and one that I think most horror fans will enjoy. But I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and help support the channel that way, there's a button down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about my 10 favorite horror movies so far this year. And I'll see you guys next time.